Did you get all of it?
What'd you call me?
Biggie?
Hey guys, welcome back to Jabber with Jocelyn. Happy Valentine's Day. By the time you're watching this, it will no longer be Valentine's Day, but we are filming on Valentine's Day. So, happy Valentine's Day to all the loves out there. And I thought, who better than to be on the Valentine's Day episode than my Valentine? And oh my gosh, if I had a dime for the amount of times I've said Valentine in the last 5 minutes or minute and a half, I don't know. Anyways, this is Michael, my boyfriend. Say hi, Michael.
Hi, Michael.
Oh my gosh. This is my boyfriend. He's the best. He's a cutie patootie or whatever.
I'm pretty cool.
So, yeah, I brought Michael in here today because he's a very special person in my life. He has been for longer than he's been my boyfriend, but, you know, it's pretty great that he's my boyfriend. And I kind of want to talk about that. It's going to be one of our conversation topics, but let's get right into it. I actually have my notebook this time because last episode with Alexis, I did not have my notebook with me because we didn't plan to film a podcast episode. But anyways, I have my notebook with me this time. And I'm going to stop talking fast because I feel myself talking fast.
Right.
So, the first thing that I want to talk about, and I talk about this with, well, I talked about this with Alexis too, and I think I want to start talking about it with all of my podcast guests.
Okay.
How did we meet? What was our, what is your first do you remember our first interaction?
It may not have been our first interaction, but it was the first interaction I remember. So I was at youth.
Uh-huh.
And I'm pretty sure it was, because I keep thinking 8th grade, but you didn't get here when I was in 8th grade. Mm-hmm. So it would have been my freshman year, right? And I, let's see. I remember. Yeah, so I went to youth, right? And I had invited my girlfriend at the time to come with me to youth, and that's when I saw her there, and I'd never seen her before, and so I introduced myself and said, "Hey, what's up? I'm Michael." I don't remember what I said, but that was the first interaction I remember. Whether or not that was the actual first interaction, I have no idea.
I think it was at youth.
Yeah.
I remember it. I don't remember where it was at, but I remember the interaction being about your girlfriend at the time, Scrunchy. I was like, because I think I remember something about, I don't know. I don't really remember, but it was brought into the conversation, and I was like, ooh, whose Scrunchy is that? Like, just being the nosy person that I am. And I remember that being...
Yeah, I don't remember you asking that at all, but that's okay.
Oh, okay. Well, he was wearing his girlfriend at the time Scrunchy, and I was like, ooh, whose is that? Because, you know, I'm nosy. And he was like, it's my girlfriend. And I was like, ooh, girlfriend, who is she? What's her name? What does she look like? What is she?
Sweetie.
Get out of here. My Dr. Pepper's gone. Do you remember what your first impression of me was? Like, what was your first? No? No.
That is, like, I have a memory of walking up to you. That's it.
I think I remembered you were a little bit weird.
Right.
But, you know, you're still that, so.
Right.
You're still that,
I don't know.
So.
Well, because I don't think we talked very often.
We didn't get very close until Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about that later.
So the only other memory I have before we got close, I think, was after you started dating the cowboy, right? And I remember I was playing Sprinkle, and you and him had came inside from outside where everyone else was playing volleyball, I think. It was either that or Foursquare. And he was like storming off, and you were following him like either yelling or upset. And you got in this like big fight, and I don't remember why. And you sat down on one of the chairs in the Sprinkle room, and I like didn't know what to do, and I felt really bad. And so I like walked up and was like trying to cheer you up, and you like completely ignored me altogether. Not like you didn't ignore me, but like you were in a bad mood, so you weren't like, you know, trying to be cheered up at the time. But I think it eventually worked because you did kind of like, I don't know, I think your mood improved
Uh-huh.
And I think that was it. And then I think I remember hearing about it later in the day, later at youth before, like right before it was over.
Mm-hmm.
And all I remember is you just being like, I don't know why. I don't know why this is happening. I don't know what's going on. He's not telling me anything. I'm pretty sure it was like right before you guys broke up.
Probably.
I think it clicked.
Yeah. It was probably, so was this at the youth house?
Yes.
So this was probably the night we did break up.
Oh.
Because the night that we broke up,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so actually, so he broke up with me on Wednesday, on that Wednesday at the youth house. But it was funny because he had FaceTimed me on Monday and tried to break up with me over FaceTime that Monday. And then we didn't end up breaking up because, you know, I don't really remember the details, nor do I want to try to remember the details, you know?
Right.
But then on Wednesday, so he got distant, and then I was like, what's going on? And then on FaceTime, he was like, I want to break up. And then I was like, okay, can we figure this out? Because I don't see a reason. And then, so everything was fine Tuesday. Like, everything went back to normal. You know, we didn't break up and everything went back to normal. Then Wednesday, he completely ignored me the whole day.
Wow.
Like, all day he ignored me. And so, yeah, at the youth house, I was upset, and I was like, what is going on? Like, I'm sick of this. What is going on? And he dumped me.
Right. Yeah, I think that, and then me walking up to you for our first interaction. I have no memory of the interaction, but I remember walking up to you to have the interaction.
Right.
Are probably like my only two memories until we got close.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Our first meeting is much a blur to me too.
Yeah. Because at the time was still, you guys were friends, right? And I don't think he was there at youth that day, but I remember him coming with you a few times. I think
he didn't start coming with me, or he didn't start coming with me. I invited him. Okay, so
because I definitely remember shortly after, maybe it was the next Wednesday, or it was shortly after he started coming with you. So I invited him to youth while I was still with Cowboy, and then so he started coming, but he had a girlfriend at the time, and so he came with her, and they came together, and then they broke up, and then he started coming by himself, but we didn't come together. We met and we talked because we were friends, but we didn't come together until we started dating. Oh, okay.
And then and then he only came to church whenever I was there, and that's a whole can of worms in itself. But we don't have to talk about that. Yeah. Because I don't want to.
Okay. Yeah. No. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's the end of that, I guess. I don't know what else to say about that. Okay, so that's all I have to say about that. And that's all I have to say about that. Right. Okay, so what was the first moment for you that you remember where we actually started becoming like friends, like genuine, like talk to each other all the time friends? I have no idea. Because I think the first thing I can actually put my finger on would be Oklahoma, the musical. Probably. Was when we started hanging out. So we were both in Oklahoma together. I played Aunt Eller and he played Ali Hakim. Ali Hakim. Yeah. That's actually how you say it. Because it's Persian. Yeah. So he played Ali Hakim, the peddler man, and I played Aunt Eller, the old aunt. And I think that's the first time that we actually spent time together outside of actual school. Because before that we didn't have like any classes together. We only saw each other at youth, and we had different friend groups at the time. Yes. And so, honestly, I would describe our friendship at the time as one of those ones that you have no origin story for. Like, you ever see those reels where it's like you just have that friendship that you have no idea where it came from? It's just there. Yeah. That would be our friendship, because I genuinely don't know. Yeah. When we started becoming friends. That's fair. Because part of me wants to say before Oklahoma, because I feel like I knew you pretty well beforehand. Mm-hmm. But because I think we started hanging out at youth. I'm pretty sure we were friends before that, but I don't remember when. I think we probably just like started hanging out more at youth because I started becoming friends with your friends. Yes. And because before that, Cowboy was
the cowboy was really kind of my only friend, and I hung out with his friends, and
Yeah.
Kuda and them.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Are we name dropping?
Huh?
Are we name dropping?
It's not his real name. It's fine.
Oh, he's not gonna see it either, is he?
No.
Oh, okay.
Garrett and Carson might, and we're name dropping them because they're gonna be the next podcast guests. Hopefully.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. But yeah. So we met, or we didn't meet, but the first thing I remember us getting close was through Oklahoma, and I don't really know where to go from there because it's all kind of a blur up until this summer. It's kind of a blur up until this summer, to be honest.
I don't know. I feel like even most of the summer's a blur. Most of my life is a blur. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. My memory is so foggy. I swear. I don't know.
If there weren't pictures, he wouldn't remember, guys.
I'm happy my mom's a photographer. I'm just gonna say that. No, probably. I didn't. We were friends before Oklahoma. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
We were good friends before Oklahoma. We became even better friends during Oklahoma, and then we're even better friends after that. When it started, no idea.
Mm-hmm.
How or why, no idea. And then it just went from there, I guess.
Yeah. How did we go from friendship to best friends to boyfriend, girlfriend?
Cheese and crackers.
I remember it started this summer. For me, at least.
Probably.
Okay, so we went on a mission trip, and while we were on that mission trip, me and Michael hung out a lot because, I don't really know exactly why. We just hung out a lot during the trip because it was like 8 of us, and it was a tight-knit group, so there were all of us hanging out together.
Yeah.
And
I think because there were like smaller groups within it.
So we kind of got our own little cliques just because of the way things fell. I don't know. It's, something in the air, God's will, something. And I was struggling, whenever we first got to that trip, I was struggling a lot with spiritual warfare because we went on our mission trip to Seattle, and Seattle is a spiritually heavy spot to be for any person because they are not spiritual there. Like, they are very, very much not for God there. And so it was already a very spiritually dark place. And then I was going through my own spiritual warfare because that was the first calling that I got to, but I didn't know it at the time. It was the first calling that I got from God to break up with my ex-boyfriend. Of course, I didn't know it at the time because I really struggled with discernment, but that was the first calling. And through that, I was talking to him about it because I was like, I don't know. I also talked to JC about it, but I mainly talked to you about it. And I was like, I don't know what's been going on. I've been praying, and it was a struggle. And I guess I found I didn't talk about it a lot with him, but I guess I found kind of an escape, not like a romantic escape, because it wasn't that way. It was just, he was my friend, and he was taking, in a way, he was because we joked around a lot while we were on that trip, and I always say this, his joy, his laughter, it really is the best escape. And so I guess while we were in Seattle, I kind of used that as an escape from the, as a distraction to keep me lively and happy while we were on the trip. But of course, that's not all it was. I really enjoyed your present just because you're you. I didn't just use you as an excuse or as an escape. But
I didn't think so.
Yeah, but and then our youth pastor, he was, and then our associate youth pastor, and then one of the other boys were
making fun of it,
making jokes about it. And at the time, I thought it was because they were implying that we were flirting. And that's really how it came across. But both my youth pastor and my youth pastor's wife said later on that they weren't joking about us flirting. And actually, they told me this recently, and I believe them. It's the truth, But they told me that it's the reason that they were laughing about it was because whenever I was with my ex-boyfriend, I was in a very dark place because of the toxicity of the relationship that I didn't realize was there, And Amy told me that it was because they were laughing about it because they were happy that they were seeing the happy Jocelyn again.
Mm.
And
They told me that too.
They saw, like, the joy again. They saw my joy again. And, like, I guess...
Our youth pastor, to me at least, talked about it as, like, a welcoming thing. It didn't feel like that at the time.
Yeah.
But after the fact, he was like, it was more like a we were joking because it was something we were trying to welcome. Like, we want this to happen.
And,
so.
yeah. But it came across to us like they were joking about us flirting. And I will admit, I probably... unintentionally, because I have a very flirty personality. Like, I'm not even just saying that. Like, it's the truth. And so I probably was accidentally flirting a little bit. But, you know...
What are you gonna do?
Yeah. It's in the past now, you know. Well, maybe it's in... I don't know. Anyway, so that is how I remember it first. How we first got close. Like, that's how I first started to, like, really trust you. Because I struggle to trust people, but... That's kind of how I first started to really trust you. But yeah, that's the first kind of thing that I remember us clicking is like... And of course we had hung out all summer anyways because of like VBS and all the youth things. And we also did like literally almost daily Sonic runs all together.
Oh my gosh,
or at least twice a week, Sunday nights and Wednesday nights.
Yeah.
And so we had already been kind of close, but I think that was like the first thing that I was like, okay, potential true genuine friend.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't think I'd say anything separate to that. I know that when you would be struggling, I felt the need to like not necessarily distract you, but like kind of rope you back into the fact that we're on a mission trip, and it wasn't necessarily like not important, but in the fact that like it's not worth thinking about, you know, and like even over Falls Creek and Super Summer too. I mean, that's not why we were there, you know? And so I felt the need to, you know, crack a joke, distract you with a joke. And you know, kind of just bring the smile back. So I think that was mostly my intention. There were definitely moments where I was like, huh, this was kind of nice. But then I had to go tell myself that she has a boyfriend. And I can't have that. So then I was in denial about it for a long time.
And I also want to say that he is not the reason me and my boyfriend broke up. Me and my ex-boyfriend broke up. That was a completely separate reason that he had nothing to do with. So, yeah.
Yes. Because me and him were actually pretty good friends at the time, too. I mean, we were actually really good friends. I don't think we are as close now, but at the time, we were really good friends. And we were supporting each other in our walks, and in our struggles. So, I mean, there was no ill will. I never had any intention of being like, I'm going to take her. That was never not necessarily that wasn't the plan, nor was it the goal or intention. Goal is a synonym of plan, so whatever. But I don't know. I mean, I don't think I have much to add. She kind of got all of it.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I don't know. I don't have much else to say. I don't know.
I mean, you can just like continue with the story, like. Because we had, what was it? It was VBS and then mission trip and then what? Or was it, what was the order of the summer? Was it Super Summer? I thought
VBS was last.
VBS was last? No,
was it?
Falls Creek was last.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, because I think it was end of July.
I think it was, what happened was it was
early
Super
August.
Summer and then it was VBS. And then right after VBS, we left for the mission trip and then Falls Creek.
Yeah.
And so I lied. Super Summer was the first time that I got like that hint of God that this needs to end, because the whole time we were at Super Summer, I kept getting in arguments with my ex-boyfriend at the time. And like, I was like, this is just like, it's just a rough patch. You know, like I pushed it off as it's just a rough patch. And in fact, was not just a rough patch. But yeah.
And I remember trying to give advice without being like, you should break up with him. Because that's the worst advice to give someone. Like, you should break up with them. Don't do that. even if you know deep within your soul that needs to happen, I'm going to be honest, I definitely felt that needed to happen.
Most people did.
But I wasn't going to say that to your face because that's something you should figure out on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And even if someone tells you, you're not going to do it.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, you're not going to do it.
Unless it's your choice, you will not break up with a person. Like, nobody can force you to break up with a person.
But yeah, giving advice is hard. And so there would be multiple times where I was like, I really don't know what to tell you. That just sucks. No, like, honestly, multiple times I would just kind of looking and be like, I don't know what to say. That sounds awful. I'm sorry that's happening. And that was it. Because I didn't know what to say at the time. And I would text her after the fact and be like, hey, I actually have something to say now because I didn't know what to say at the time. It's that slow to speak. Mm-hmm. Kind of mindset. That's not why at all. I just didn't have words.
You were slow. Period.
I hope you know that I helped her a lot. Here she goes making fun of me.
It's fine. Bullying is my love language, guys. We all know it. Yeah.
Don't give terrible relationship advice to someone. If you don't know what to say, just be honest. Because I've done this before. Don't try to give advice, then it'd be terrible advice. I've done that a lot. And to anyone who I've given bad advice to, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I think that when it comes to giving advice, I think that you should not try to just give somebody free advice. You should be like if somebody tells you something, you should be like, do you want me to just listen right now or do you want advice? Because if somebody wants advice, they will listen to you. If they ask for the advice, they will listen to you. If you randomly give them advice, they're not going to care. You know?
Like if you just come up to them and say like, I don't know, some inspiring quote, they're going to be like, what? No, but if you really don't know what to say, just say that. Like, I honestly don't know what to say. I'm sorry that's happening. I'll pray for you. I had to do that a lot because I didn't know what to say.
I'm a complicated woman.
Yeah, she is. To say the least.
Okay, so
skip ahead.
Falls Creek.
We talked about Seattle.
Yes. Okay. So Seattle and then Falls Creek. At Falls Creek, I got the for sure from God to break up with my ex-boyfriend. And then whenever we got back from Falls Creek, I broke up with my ex-boyfriend. And then there wasn't a lot of us in that. There wasn't a lot of you and me, I don't think, in that.
No. And that was right before the musical at the time. And I'm pretty sure within the week, within the month of y'all breaking up, I asked him and Kuda to come help me with some yard work at a friend's house that we were getting paid to do. And he talked to me about it. I'm pretty sure I told you that. You knew this.
I did?
Yes,
I don't
told
remember.
You this. And I was like, dude, because it was awkward. I didn't want to just bring it up. Be like, how you been? Well, I heard this happened. So I was trying to be like, hey, how's this? I'm trying to bring it up in a not awkward, obviously I know way, you know what I mean? Anyways, and he was just like, oh yeah, it's fine. The relief of not being in a relationship has never been so real. And he talked about the ring thing. So she had a promise ring, and he joked in the moment about smashing it.
That was the most... Okay, when we broke up, so we were in my car because we were going to go to Sonic and get a drink or whatever, but then we didn't do that. But we were in my car, and so I gave him the promise ring back. And I was, I was hurt about this because I thought that I loved him. I thought that genuinely I loved him. I was going to marry him, blah, 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 blah. God has other plans. Thank God. But so I thought that, and so I was hurt about this. I was upset, I was like, I don't want this to happen, but it's God's will, And so I was about to cry, and then I was giving him his ring back, and I was about to giving him the promise ring back, and I was about to cry, tears were welling in my eyes, about to fall, and he said, "What if I just smash this with a hammer right now?" For all the guys out there, not the move. Not the move. It was ridiculous.
Being a guy.
Ridiculous.
And so he was hurt about it. I want to make this very clear. He wasn't just nonchalant, oh, I'm completely fine. He definitely made it very apparent that he was hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And he was very, like, sad. But to most guys out there, in awkward or hurting or most situations, the not immediate response, but like I guess the immediate response is to crack a joke or to say something stupid
Not a funny
or
joke
to
crack.
or to mostly just avoid the fact that you're in pain right now. And that's what he did. That's exactly what he did. And when she told me that, I immediately was like, oh, that's why he was doing that. It wasn't to make you feel awful, which it's really not important now. But when he was telling me about it, when I was telling him that how you told it to me, he was like, oh yeah, she always over exaggerates things. And in my head, I was like, I don't think she was over exaggerating that one. That definitely sounds like something you would say. And I definitely think I said that to him. I was like, yeah, I mean, maybe some of it was exaggerated, but that also sounds like something you would say. Like, you've cracked jokes like that before. And sometimes the jokes are not appropriate. Like, not like inappropriate, but they're not appropriate for the time. And he was like, okay, yeah, you're right. I definitely was not appropriate. And he talked about how he didn't break it. He kept it in like a lockbox, memento, whatever. And I was like, okay, yeah, see, obviously he's not going to go and smash it.
I mean, I knew he wasn't serious, but it's also like
not appropriate for a joke.
Yes.
Not an appropriate time for a joke.
Never appropriate time for that joke.
No. Let's see. And then, I mean, yeah, I think after that we kind of not fell apart, but I think musical happened, huh? And it was Beauty and the Beast.
Well, it was before musical.
Fire.
It was a little before musical because I remember I was really struggling. So we had gotten close over the summer, right? And so I knew that I could trust you from that time. And so there was one night where I was having why did I break up with him? Blah, 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 blah. And I was late. It was 12 or 1 o'clock. And I was like, I don't know who to text, who would still be up. I don't know. So I was racking my brain, and I basically prayed, and I was like, God, who should I talk to right now? Because I feel like I need to talk to somebody. And you popped into my mind. And then I was like, okay, let's just pray he's up. And so I texted you, and I was like, hey, you up? And then, not in that way. Not in that way.
I don't think you said, hey, you up.
I probably didn't. I was probably like, hey, I'm sorry to bother you if you're sleeping, but are you awake? Are you busy?
Yeah.
And then you were like, no, what's up? And I was like, I'm so sorry to bother you. Can
what
I please?
Was it? Why was I up?
It was it was probably
Was that the day I was fighting the spider?
Yes. No.
Oh my gosh.
No. That was the day I was sick. That was the day that I got sick. That was later.
Oh, okay.
So no.
That's an interesting story. We'll get into that in a second.
I was like, I'm so sorry, but I'm so sorry. It was probably a little bit earlier. It was probably 11:30, but then it lasted long. Our call lasted long. But then I was like, I'm so sorry to bother you. Can I please call you? I need someone to talk to. And I basically ranted to him about the fact that I was like, why did I do this? This is so stupid. Basically just getting over a breakup, and needing someone to talk to. And so, yeah, I basically called him, and that was the first time I remember truly being because I also shared with you a very personal struggle. I was struggling with a breakup, and I was also struggling with other spiritual things at the time because I was going through a hard time and I was trying to find an easy escape. I promised I wasn't doing drugs or anything like that. Guys, it was...
No.
But, yeah, and so I called him and I was like, okay, I'm about to tell you something serious, and I need to be able to trust you with this information. And that was the first time I had fully put my trust in somebody with information that serious. And that's how I kind of how I grew to trust you anyways, because it was I was so nervous to tell you because I was like, I actually don't know if I can trust you. But then I was like, you know what, God put this in my line because God told me to call you, and God put this in the way, so I'm going to trust God. And so I vented to you basically, and then he was actually very helpful, and he gave me really good advice. And I remember something that you said, and and you've said it again, and it really, really made me feel. It made me feel close to you in that moment, like not like in like a romantic way, but like in just a friendship way. You said, like the first thing you said after I got done ranting, I remember saying like, so yeah, basically that's what I, funny, haha, and then you were like, Jocelyn, you make me feel so heard, and I was like, oh, and then that's kind of how I knew that I was just like, I realized this on the mission trip, but like never, like I didn't realize it while on the mission trip. I realized it later on how connected we were, like even before like we became close. Like we were just like connected in some way.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But then like he was like, you just make me feel so hurt, and I was like, dang. And then we talked about it, and that was like the first time I remember like actually being vulnerable, like actually.
I don't think I locked in so hard at like 1 a.m. in a conversation. I like genuinely, because like people have called me for stuff like this before, like just to talk, and I've never locked in because I'm just like but I was like, okay, this is really important. I gotta lock in. I wasn't like that, but I was like focused on what she was talking about, and I wasn't just like, yeah, that's great. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh, that sucks. Like I don't think I've ever been so locked in on a conversation. Definitely was the Lord, because again, I was tired. I'm not a night owl.
He's not. He goes to bed at, if he had it his way, he would go to bed at what, like 9, and then like be up at 7 in the morning. I can't.
No, I'd probably go to bed at like 8 and be up at 6. Straight up. Maybe not 8. I'd probably go to bed at 9, be up at 6:30 consistently.
That's crazy.
I go to bed hours is that?
I go to bed at 12 and I wake up at 10.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah.
I go to bed at 12.
9.5 hours. That's good. Go to bed at 9, get up at 6:30. That's 9.5 hours. If I could do that every day.
When I get to go to sleep, when I get to sleep in, I go to bed at 12 and
get up at
10. I don't get up at 12. I don't let myself get up at 12.
You
and my body,
before.
I know I have before, but I don't let myself if I can help it, because if I wake up,
I'm just kidding.
If I wake up after that, it'll make me feel like I wasted the day sleeping. So
if you sleep till noon.
I've had breakdowns about it before. Hi guys, we are in a different location. So my phone started glitching while we were at his house, and then I had to clear out storage space and go through this whole thing. And so in that time, we went over to my house to eat dinner and do stuff. So yeah, here we are finishing the podcast at my house. Hopefully my phone doesn't glitch again. Where we left off kind of when we first started talking, or not talking, like when we first started like getting close, like when I called you over the phone and you were, when we were talking about that. And then I think we were moving into talking about Beauty and the Beast and like how we grew close through that.
Yes.
Do you want?
I don't know.
Okay. Do you want me to start? Or?
Sure.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so during Beauty and the Beast, so after this phone call, I started like trusting Michael with literally all of my dirty laundry. Like, if ever I needed to talk or vent about anything, it was always him. And we started doing this thing during musical called what we called car talks. So we would either during breaks or at the end of rehearsal, we would go to McDonald's or just sit in one of our cars. We would normally take turns, for fairness.
For gas purposes.
Yes. And we would chat and we would talk and we would vent and we would, car talk.
Yeah.
And it started with a lot of me doing it, but then it also was him too as time went on. Yeah. Do you want to go more into that? Or I mean, I don't want to go to like personals, like the things we talked about, but
I don't know. There was, let's see. We also over time like started FaceTiming as well when we couldn't car talk.
Mm-hmm.
And we would FaceTime for a couple hours. And there was one time where FaceTimed her, and I was cleaning out my closet, and there was a massive spider in a bin of stuffed animals that I hadn't touched in, I don't know, upwards of a month, because I hadn't needed to touch the stuffed animals. They're just sitting there. And so I was gonna move it because I had to get something out. I don't remember why. But I go to move the bin, and out pops this spider's like this big on the wall, and I'm like, whoa! And I'm freaked out. I don't normally care for spiders, but when the spider is big enough to comfortably sit in my hand, that's when I freak out. Anything bigger, like comfortably sit in the palm of my hand, that's where my freak out comes from. I mean, this one, you freak out at a flea. When she thinks it's a spider. If she thinks it's a spider and it's actually a flea, she's gone running for the hills.
Listen, okay, I have severe arachnophobia. Like,
exactly
severe
my point.
Arachnophobia.
Doesn't matter as to why. Either way, she's going for the Appalachians if that, okay. But this spider, probably about this big, crawling on my wall, and I panicked, and I was like, oh my gosh, this thing needs to die now. And Jocelyn's on the phone, and I'm like looking for anything, and I had a sword in my room, and I grabbed it, and I said, you're going down, and I went to war with this spider, and I started jabbing at it, and I missed. It wasn't even the fact that it was moving, it was just the fact that I kept missing, and this went on. I was more scared to even move the bin at all, because the bin was still in there, and once I saw it, I was like, I have to get the bin out of the closet because I need to corner the spider. And so I was like, okay, if it has babies, we need to get the bin out. So the fear was that if I was going to try to grab the bin, it was going to crawl up my hand and I would die right there. Fear killing me, gone. So I eventually made the courage to slowly grab it every now and then until I knew that the spider wasn't in the bin, and then I took it out. And as the spider sat in my closet, I had my sword and I started jabbing at it. I was missing. Jocelyn's dying over here because she was sick.
Yeah, I had been puking my guts out all day, and I was sick, and I was laughing because it was funny, but laughing hurt my stomach.
Yes.
So I was dying.
Yeah, mixture of laughing and dying. Sucks for her, I guess.
Dying, laughing, and dying. That's what I was doing that day.
Yeah. And I'm jabbing at this spider, and eventually I get it killed, and she might as well just be dead on the floor at this point. And I oh, that's cute. It's a little like gnome with ears. That's kind of cute. Maddox, that's cute. Anyways.
Easter gnome.
Oh. So yeah. And then that one, I don't know why, but that FaceTime was memorable for me. Not just because of the spider, but because she, even though she was sick, she still wanted to sit on the phone and talk with me. And it wasn't like, oh, I'm sick, I don't want to talk, I want to go to bed. She was willing to stay up and, have a good time on FaceTime. And afterwards, we pretty appreciated conversation.
Mm-hmm, we did.
After that as well. And so that was nice. But that FaceTime was a memorable one for me. Just because you were willing to put up with my crap of me dealing with a massive spider, and then was still willing to have a conversation after the fact while you were dying.
I want to backtrack a little bit to give a little context to this FaceTime, okay? So, it was very recently before that I had realized, so one day we were at Musical, and I was driving home from Musical by myself, like nobody was in the car with me, and I was like, Michael, and then I was like, no, not Michael. And then I was like, but Michael. And then I think that was the first time that I had actually admitted to myself that I liked you. And I was like, I said out loud in my car, nobody was around. I was like, I like Michael. And then I was like, no, Jocelyn, no, focus. You don't like Michael. Like, he's your friend. He's your best friend. You cannot like Michael. And so that was the first time I admitted it to myself. And then when we were on the call, I don't know if you noticed this, but when we were on the call, that was when I had already told my mom at this point. But I was like in denial. I was like, no, stop, Jocelyn. Lose feelings. And while we were on the phone, while he was distracted with the spider, I kept going on mute. Like I kept muting myself. And my mom was sitting so I was laying on the couch because I could not, like I was back and forth to the bathroom to throw up. And so it was like I had to stay in the living room. So I was on the couch and my mom was in my dad's chair, which is like a recliner. And so I kept muting myself and moving my phone and saying to my mom, Mom, what am I supposed to do? Because I was freaking out because he's my best friend, but I'm like falling in love with him at this point. And I'm like, Mom, tell me what to do. And she's like, I don't know, honey. Hang up the phone with him. And I was like, but I wanna, you know, like, cause I wanted it, but then like, I didn't know if he wanted it too. And then also there was complications. So yeah, to add a little context to that story, I was in the process. And then I remember whenever you had to hang up, because you were going to go to bed, I was so sad. Like
No, actually me too.
I was so sad. I was like, I don't want to hang up the phone with you right now.
I actually didn't want to hang up either, but I didn't want to be weird and be like, can we not hang up?
Yeah.
And so
then,
I was like, oh, night.
And
I was just like, huh?
After
It
that,
was real quiet. I was just like, oh, bedtime, I guess.
bedtime. And then after that, we started FaceTiming more frequently because that was the first time we FaceTimed.
Yeah.
And then, because we originally were calling, and then you FaceTimed me to show me the spider.
Yeah.
And then,
So I said, you gotta see this
and
spider.
I was like,
It's
no,
massive.
no.
And I was like, okay, I don't care if you want to see the spider. I'm showing you the spider.
Yeah. And then after that.
What is that? Oh, that's that picture. I don't know why I thought that was a window. Sorry.
And then after that, we started FaceTiming more frequently until one night it was late. Like, it was like, I don't know, like, what time was it? 11, 12, something like that?
Probably.
Yeah. And it was like 11 or 12, and we were talking, and we were both in bed, like the lights were off. We were basically like couldn't see each other. Like, we were on FaceTime, but like we were literally like in bed, like falling asleep on the phone. And then, but like we were still kind of talking, and I was like, I low-key don't want to hang up the phone right now. And he was like, you know, me neither. And then I was like, but
Let's just not.
Yeah. And then he said, let's just not. And I was like, wait, really? Like, because, you know, normally that's like a couples thing, or like if people like each other thing. So I was like, that was my first idea of like,
Because, okay, so she had been giving subtle hints for the longest time, thinking I'm just the most oblivious man in the world, that I didn't notice anything.
No, I knew that you noticed. I knew that you knew. Oh my God. I knew that you noticed, but I knew that you noticed, but I wanted to lie to myself to give myself peace of mind because I got sick of it. So like I was hiding it like deep down inside me until I was like, I'm sick of this. If he likes me, great, yay. If he doesn't like me, I can move on, you know? But then, so I started dropping subtle hints, and I know that he wasn't oblivious. Like, I'm not stupid. Like,
She says that. She definitely says that she didn't think I was oblivious.
I didn't.
Uh-huh.
I knew that it was obvious.
Uh-huh.
And I knew you were
She says
flirting
that.
back.
She says that now.
And I knew you were flirting back.
She says that now.
I genuinely...
She says that on camera. There have been multiple times where we've had a conversation just the two of us, and she's like, no, I didn't know. No, I really didn't know. And I was like, yeah, I was trying to make it kind of obvious at some point. She's like, oh, I didn't know.
Well, no, because when you started flirting back, so I started flirting, and then at that point, like, I was like, let's be subtle about this. You know, just test the waters. And then you started flirting back, and I was being realistic, and I was like, okay, maybe this is flirting, but I'm also not going to get my hopes up because I didn't want to get hurt if I was just misreading the signals, you know?
Right.
I didn't want to get my hopes up.
Sorry, it's 8 p.m. It's
No,
not
you're
bedtime.
fine. It is his
I'm just
bedtime.
kidding.
It's his time to get ready for bed and go to bed.
I'd probably be getting ready for bed by now.
My bedtime
That's
is in 4 hours.
Gracious.
But it's actually probably going to be earlier tonight because I got to get up early tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
I still live on Ensemble tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways. And so we started falling
yeah.
asleep on FaceTime frequently.
Yes, that was just like a thing. I mean, like we didn't even like make a notice to it. You know, we weren't like, oh, let's do it again, or like, oh, let's fall asleep again.
It
Just
just
like
happened.
okay,
Yeah.
night. And it wasn't like a thing we drew attention to. It was just like I don't know, it was like a part of the routine of FaceTiming every day because it became like a daily thing. Yeah. I don't know what happened next. Flip the page. What happened next?
And then we were on FaceTime one night. Let's skip to the part where we admit our feelings. So we skipped. So at this point, I had been praying after I was dropping subtle hints, and I was like, God, should I tell him? Should I tell him? Should I tell him? And God kept saying, no, 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 no. And then one night we were on FaceTime, and I was like, okay, God, I literally cannot do this anymore. I feel like you are telling me to tell him tonight. But then I struggle with discernment, so I was like, no, God, if you want this to happen, let him tell me. And then he prayed about it.
And yeah, because I was also being subtle. I was being not subtle on purpose. Because I do that thing where I act as if I don't know what I'm talking about, so I get the answer that I'm looking for. Which worked, because if I acted dumb, then she made it more obvious, which is exactly what happened. She'll deny it, but it's exactly what happened.
Whatever.
She will. I'm telling you, she'll deny it. But she was subtle, and then she was less subtle after I was like, no, I don't get it.
Whatever.
Or I just like ignored it. Or
Okay,
was like,
so whenever I was talking, whenever we would have our car talks, I would talk about him having a crush on him. And at first I was like, I like this guy, but I don't know if he likes me back. And he would be like, and then he would ask me, can I know who it is? And I would be like, no. And then he started being known as Mystery Man, and I started dropping subtle hints that it was him. And then to the point where I knew that he knew, but I also didn't know that he knew.
Yep. I knew pretty sure like right from the start, because at that point she'd been telling me everything, and so it was like, well, obviously if it's Mystery Man, who else is it gonna be? She had told me everything at that point, so it's like, obviously it's me. It was clear at that point, but I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna be like, oh well, duh. I'm gonna, make sure that I know with full confidence that it's me. So I'd be like, oh no, I have no idea. I couldn't guess who Mystery Man is. And I did that every single time she'd bring it up. She'd be like, do you know who it is? And I was like, no, I really have no idea. And I had to lock in because I have no poker face for people who know me. Like if I have like for like when we're in class or something, like someone takes their phone and they like hand it to me, like they're like run with it, and I'm like, what? I shove it in my pocket. I like have a big smile on my face. Like I have no poker face. And so I had to lock in and be like, no, I have no idea who Mystery Man is. And eventually it was like more hints, and I kept like checking off other possibilities, and then it was just me, and I was like, okay, I was right. And then on that FaceTime, I was like, okay, I need to do something about this because I feel the same. But my overthinking brain was like, oh, but she doesn't. You're a liar. You're lying to yourself. What are you doing? You're wasting your time. And I said, okay. And so I prayed, and then I was like, okay, here we go.
And it took me a minute. It took him a minute to compose himself, and
no,
he was
really
like,
did. It was terrible.
He was a little nervous, and I was like, oh,
mega nervous.
It was cute.
Thanks. No, I was insanely nervous.
Yeah. And then, but basically, it came to the point where I think I had to be like, I think I know what you're gonna say, so just say it.
She did say that. I was like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
And I said it, and then she was like, I like you too.
Yeah, because he was like,
she said it in like a really clever way. She was like, Michael, you're Mystery Man. And I was like, well, duh. I didn't say it like that. That's how she said it. She was like, you're Mystery Man. And like the real sweet face. I was like, yeah. And I was just like, oh, well, I know that. I know. I didn't say it like that. I don't remember how I said it actually.
You were probably like, I kind of figured, probably.
I think, yeah, that's how I imagined it would happen.
But yeah, and so that was kind of how we admitted our feelings to each other. And then we kept FaceTiming and flirting, but we kept doing it in secret because we were testing the waters because we weren't exactly sure, because we're in the same friend group and our friend group is very tight-knit. And we were not sure how all of our friends would react. And so we were, not that we really cared, but we were kind of easing it out. Like we were getting to know each other in a different way. And so I think at first we wanted to know it ourselves before the whole world knew it.
And it's also, sorry, I mean.
No, go ahead.
During musical, it's like a thing that, people will start dating during musical.
It's showmance.
Yeah. And so it's like, well, let's not do that. Let's give it time.
Mm-hmm. To see if it's just a showman's or not.
We didn't really give it that much time.
But
it eventually clicked and was like, yes, this is good.
But it's also because even before we admitted our feelings, I already knew that I didn't just like him. And I know that to most people that sounds insanely like crazy, but I know that Michael is a gift from God. And I knew that from the very beginning. And I was falling in love with him as much as I tried not to. I was falling in love with him before we even admitted our feelings for each other. And like I was praying to God, and I was like, God, if this is not your will, take these feelings from me. But God, if it is your will, like, let it happen. And instead of taking my feelings from Michael, he grew them. He made them more. Like, he increased them. Yeah. And so that was like a sign that I knew that this relationship was from God.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, it was like, I didn't realize how much she meant to me until I said it. Like, oh my gosh, I like you. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I like you. I said it. Oh my goodness. And it was like a whole, like an epiphany that I had. And I was like, oh my gosh, I felt this way for a long time, but I didn't even realize because I pushed it down so fast. Because before, she had a boyfriend. So I was like, okay, can't do this. I, shove it down whatever emotional gullet there is. And emotional gullet, why is that what I used? I don't know. And so then when I said it, it just like was like, and I'm like, whoa. So yeah.
And then we were like, okay, let's not date yet. Let's just kind of feel the waters. And we told very few people, and we were like, we like each other. Yeah. Like, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people already knew, but still we like told each other we like each other.
Yeah, a lot of the people who we told were like, I know. And they were like, other people would be like, oh, really? I knew it. I guessed it. And we avoided certain people.
Yeah.
But
yeah. And then we went to, after Beauty and the Beast, it had been like, I don't know, like a week or two after Beauty and the Beast. And we got together like the whole cast, well, not the whole cast, but like the main, I don't want to say the main group because that feels like we're purposefully excluding people, but like that wasn't the intention. It's just the people. So we were trying to get the whole cast together again for another party, but not everybody could come. Yeah. So we had this, like, we called it Friendsgiving because it was right after Thanksgiving. And we got together.
Right before?
It was right after. It was the 30th.
Oh.
Because remember yeah.
Right.
And so one of our friends, Mason, love Nosy Mason, he started meddling, and he at this point knew, and he went to Michael and said, hey Michael, Jocelyn wants you to ask her to be your girlfriend. And then he came to me and said, hey, Michael said that he's going to ask you to be his girlfriend, which none of that was said. We didn't say anything.
And I immediately, in my head, when he was telling me this, I was like,
yeah, no, me too.
True.
Because we had already discussed this. We weren't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And after the fact, I was like, hey, Mason told me this. Is this true? And she was like, oh, he told me the same thing. And I was like, I figured.
Yeah. But then we were also talking, but then we also got to talking, and he was like, so do you maybe want to? Like, and then I was like, well, I don't know. Definitely not like this, not with Mason being in the middle of it. But then also
everybody in the room.
Yeah, and it's
we
also
were doing
like
a Mario Kart tournament at the time, so I made it even more intense.
Yeah.
Interrupt everybody's Mario Kart to say, hey.
Yeah. But then anyway, so we go back to the, like, we end that conversation, and I use the restroom. While I'm in the bathroom, I pray, and I'm like, God, I feel like this might be from you. So God, if I feel like he's going to ask me tonight, and if he does, God, if you want me to say yes, have him take my hands. Like, have him stand in front of me and take my hands while he asks me. And then later on...
as she was walking me to my car, I was leaving.
Yes.
Going home. Because the party was going till, like, midnight. And I wanted to stay, but my parents wanted me to come home. Because that's valid.
It's late.
Yes. And so I got my stuff, I went to my car. And she came in, walked me out, and I had no idea that she prayed or anything. And I set myself down, and I was going to give her a hug, whatever. It was so funny. 2 other people walked out to leave at the same time, and it was so embarrassing. I immediately was like, I yelled so fast because I thought people were coming outside to mess with us. Because at this point, I think most people in the room knew. Because a lot of people had left. 2 people were walking out, and my mind immediately went to people coming to mess with us. And part of me thought it was Mason, and so I was so stupid. I yelled, I yelled, "Nothing's happening. She's just giving me a hug." So loud. For everybody in the vicinity to hear. And the 2 people walking out were like, and I immediately looked at Jocelyn and was like, wait, that makes it way more suspicious. And the people walking out were like, what? We're just leaving. And I was like, oh, okay, never mind. And it was so awkward. It was so funny. And
also, for context, the house that we were at, it was out in the country. So it wasn't like there were neighbors around. It was literally only those 2 people.
Yes.
And it was also really dark because there were no like street lights or anything. It was out in the country. And that's why it looked kind of suspicious. But nothing was going on. We were just hugging. Like, actually just hugging.
Yeah. And they eventually left, whatever. And then I was like, okay. Before I leave, this is all or nothing. And I was like, oh, sorry. I'm rocking really intensely.
It's okay. It's just distracting. For the camera. Oh, and now I'm rocking. Just because I readjust it.
Yeah.
No.
But, oh my gosh, I lost my train of thought.
And then it's now or never.
Oh, right. My train of thought just like left me. I was like, okay, it's now or never. Here goes nothing. And so I reached my hands out, grabbed her hands, and was like, Jocelyn, do you want to be my girlfriend? And it was from there on. She said yeah, and then she explained to me, and I was like, whoa, that's pretty cool.
The way the Lord works, or something like that. No, I'm just kidding. Yes, the way the Lord works.
Crazy. Yeah, and then I went home. I honestly went home in unbelief, because part of me was like, there's no way this is real. Like, I'm dreaming. And I had to I prayed on the way home, and I was like, okay, tell me this is real. There's no way. When I got home, I told my parents about the party, and I was like, okay, go to bed, whatever. It's fine. And then when you got home, what time was it when you got home?
Well, at this point, I went back upstairs because I wasn't leaving yet. And I went back upstairs and I told my best friend Ellie, I whispered it in her ear, and I was trying to be subtle because I didn't want to announce it to everybody because we hadn't discussed who to tell, right? And so I told Ellie because duh, and she freaked out. She screamed. She said, oh my goodness, and then everybody else was like, what? And so I was like, okay, I guess I can trust these people. They basically already know. And then I was like, I have a boyfriend, and then everybody started screaming and freaking out. Yeah, and it was really sweet. And then I went home, and I immediately told my parents. That was the first thing. I went into their room. They were kind of getting ready for bed, but I went in there smiling, and I was like, hee 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 hee. And then they were like, and then my mom was like, what? And my dad was like, Jocelyn has a boyfriend, and I was like, Jocelyn has a boyfriend.
Yeah, no, it was great.
Something's
It's been sunshine and rainbows since then. No, I'm just kidding. Life's not like that.
Yeah. Sadly.
Right.
Yeah, ever since then we've just been kind of living life. I mean,
struggles here and there.
I mean, yeah, that's all relationships do, but
yeah,
it hasn't been anything something that I've realized about this relationship that was different from my last relationship. Not comparing relationships or anything, but
general life experience, it all applies.
Yeah. Something that I realized is when we do have struggles or disagreements or something, it's not him against me. It's never him against me. It's always me and him against the problem. And that's how it differs from my last relationship, because my last relationship was very pointing fingers, you blame me, me blame you, And with us, I've noticed that's the biggest difference, and the biggest praise I think in our relationship is the fact that we don't argue. We if we disagree, we talk about it. And I know that there will probably be times in the future that we do argue.
Probably argue.
But also
perfect.
But also, I've noticed that we are so much better at communication, and we are really good at communicating. And I think it's because we were best friends first, and so we can and know how to be honest with each other.
To the people who say that I've always thought this is silly. To the people who say that you're gonna argue all the time in your relationship, if you do, it's not the one. There's no way. Because I think, personally, all arguments are avoidable. Because in a perfect relationship, there wouldn't need to be any argument. Nor would there be any disagreement. But in a perfect relationship, there's no need for argument. And so if your goal is to reach for the perfect relationship, reach for holiness, reach for the perfect kind of love, then you shouldn't even have to worry about it. Arguing shouldn't even be within your radar.
Mm-hmm.
It should be not knowing how to solve the problem versus, oh my gosh, am I going to end up yelling at her? Is she going to yell at me? Is she going to be upset with me?
Mm-hmm.
It should be, okay, I don't know how to solve this problem. What do I do?
And there have definitely been times where we've been upset at each other, but we haven't yelled at each other. We've been like, we have communicated, I'm upset right now, and I need a minute to breathe. And of course, that's something that we're still working on, because there have been moments where I know I have gotten a little snippy, and I'm like, okay, I need to.
I do it differently.
Mm-hmm.
I get upset weirdly, and I try, though I struggle with when we're talking about something that we disagree on. I have the problem of like trying to convince someone of my point, even if there's no reason to do that. And it could just be like a civil conversation, like there's no need to convince someone of my point. I try to do that anyway, and it gets bad. Over the silliest of things that doesn't matter. I'll try to be like, oh, but this, and this, your opinion is just wrong. I mean, you should just see that your opinion is wrong. And I'm like, there's no reason for me to do that. And so that's my way of like being upset because someone disagrees with me.
And there's been times where I've been like, okay, let's pause for a second. We seem to be getting a little heated. Let's pause, take a breath. And oftentimes I've been like, okay, because a lot of the times it's like our conversations on the phone, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna let you go for a minute because I have to cool down. I feel like you need to cool down a little bit. I'm going to go probably, I don't know, what I do homework or something, and I will text you when I'm done and give us some time to cool down.
Yeah, and most of the time it's something we don't even end up coming back to because it's like a problem that isn't even needed to be thought about right now.
And I mean, of course, we like apologize. We're like, I'm sorry,
yes.
I got upset. It was a silly thing to argue about or to disagree on. Like, it was so silly.
99% of the time, it has been a silly thing to argue about.
Yes.
Something that doesn't even like apply within the next 10 years.
Oh yeah.
And so there's literally no reason to argue about it.
Moving on, because I think we need to wrap this up soon.
Yeah, probably.
Is there anything else you want to talk about before I get on to the last thing?
Not really. Oh, okay. Sure, I'll just do this. I mean, you plan to keep these, right? These are going on YouTube? Okay, you don't have to cut that out. This is important what I'm talking about. To Jocelyn in 20 years. Okay. I'm really proud of where you've come from. And, I'm, having you in my life is such a blessing, and I don't think I say it enough. I hope that when you inevitably look back on these, you can look back at this moment and think of joyful things and think of where we started. I pray that we'll still be dating, hopefully married in 20 years.
Pray that we'll still be dating in 20 years?
Hopefully married in 20 years. I don't see why we wouldn't be, but hopeful high schooler, am I right? Anyways, my point to that is the Lord's going to take you far. You'll probably be a teacher by then at a high school or at a college, and I know that He's going to do amazing things through you. And this doesn't matter now, but when you look back on this in a decade or two, it'll be kind of sweet. But I love you a lot. Life right now is good. And I hope that it's even better within 20 years. And I can't wait to see how it turns out.
To wrap us up,
Yep.
Every podcast guest that comes on, I have 3 questions.
Oh, gracious. This is like a quiz. Okay, ready?
First question.
Oh, boy.
If money wasn't a deciding factor, like if we lived in a world where everything was free.
Oh, is this the same question for everybody?
Yes. Question number 1. If money wasn't a deciding factor, what would your dream job be?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. Oh, sorry. Oh my gosh, dream job. Oh man, that's tough. A famous composer. Not a music artist, but a composer. For like choral music. Yeah.
Okay.
And like symphonic music. Yeah. Because that sounds so fun. I would totally do that. And like maybe write like a couple masterpieces and then just retire. Like Mozart.
Or die
He wrote
like
a-
Beethoven.
or go deaf or die.
Hey,
or
did y'all hear
fall off,
Beethoven's new album on Spotify?
Anyways, second question.
Second
Let
question.
me get these terrible jokes out of the way.
If
I'm
you
just
stop, you are the king of dad jokes.
kidding.
And you're not even a dad yet.
Anyways,
One day.
second question.
If you had one superpower, what would it be?
Man, there's a lot of cool superpowers out there. Oh boy. Okay, this is where my brain gets really nerdy. Okay. Oh man, see, but that one. My brain immediately. Okay, for people who don't know me, I watch anime.
Nerd.
She's literally watching an anime with me right now, and she's loving that. Okay, I want to make this very clear.
He's
Yeah, she's about to be like he's lying.
He's not lying. He's forcing me into his cult.
Whatever.
Just like you forced me into the Mycene Monsters cult. No, actually, I got you to rejoin.
Did you hear? These are lies. She started playing before me, and she's mad that I'm better than her at this game.
I'm literally at a higher level than you,
That
and
is
I have
level.
more money than you, and I have more diamonds than you.
Yeah, because I spent all of mine. You watched me spend 100 diamonds today.
Yeah.
You watched me spend at least probably 3 million gold today, which is why you have more than me. I had more than you this morning. And I spent some, so yeah, you're gonna have more than me.
I literally
you
am better
literally
than
have
you.
watched me make multiple farms in this game, so I can be better than you.
Me.
She's jealous that I'm right.
Hold on.
Nope.
Yes.
I'm not a Grumposaurus.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm
Here
not.
it is.
No.
My name is Malcolm. I'm a Grumposaurus.
You're such a nerd.
Mwah.
Okay, anyways, to answer the question, there's a character in a show that I love. It's called One Piece. The main character, his name is Luffy. And he has the powers of rubber. His body's made of rubber. It's exaggerated, but I want his power specifically because I don't know, you'd have to have seen the show to know, but because it's cool and it's very versatile. It's more versatile than people would think. Like Mr. Fantastic, same kind of logic. Mrs. Incredible, same kind of logic. But power of body rubber, way more, what's the word? Versatile than people would think. I want my body to be made of rubber. Just like Luffy though, not like those other two. Specifically like him. Because there's specific physics that are involved in this,
okay.
but yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Last question.
Okay.
Who is your celebrity
I
crush?
really don't have one.
I don't believe you. Everybody
don't.
has a celebrity crush.
I genuinely do not. Last time I was asked this question, it was for a musical interview, and I Googled top 10 celebrity crushes right before the interview, and I picked one.
I remember that.
And I picked Sydney Sweeney. I really don't have one. I really don't. I just say Sydney Sweeney, because that's what I'm going to tell people now.
I don't even know who Sydney Sweeney is.
You know, she's in a bunch of Dr. Squatch ads. Like the ones
That's
that are
so
like
on brand
ones
for
that are-
you.
the ones that are like kind of inappropriate.
That's so on brand
Like
for you, though.
yeah, no, but I'm just gonna say Sydney Sweeney because I genuinely don't have one. As
Okay.
silly as that is, I really don't have one.
Okay.
Okay,
Well, thank you, Michael, for being
Yeah.
on my podcast.
thanks for
I
having me.
love hanging out with you. I definitely want to do a part 2 because I want to do one where the audience gets to know you a little bit more, you know, your hobbies, your interests. We would have done it in this episode, but we don't have the time
No, it's
today.
gonna be kind of a short episode, huh?
Yeah, just a little bit, but it's okay because we can work it out.
Not all podcast episodes have to be 3 hours long.
Yeah,
To the other
Alexis. No, I'm just
podcast,
kidding.
to the other podcast makers out there, you don't have to force it.
But yeah, thank you for coming on my podcast.
Thanks for having me.
I
I'm sorry, I keep checking my watch. I'm a busy man. I have nails to do. I'm gonna do her nails. She's good.
he's okay. So I glued on like press-ons, like random press-ons from Walmart, and he's gonna paint them for me
Because it's Valentine's Day.
because it's Valentine's Day. Okay, well, I love you so much,
I love you too.
and I'm so happy to be hanging out with you today.
Me
And
too.
thank you guys for watching. If you want to see more of this, like and subscribe, and please share this podcast with your friends. Because
YouTubers say hit that notification bell.
please share this podcast with your friends.
50% of my subscribers aren't subscribed. You should subscribe.
Anyways, please hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell. Also, share this podcast with your friends because I would love to just be able to, hopefully, as more college things pick up, I want to inspire more people if I can with college things, and then also just with life stories, you know, just be able to inspire people. So thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Hopefully it won't be as long of a break as this one was, but you know, timing and things like that are difficult. So
We're still children, so.
yeah, we're still children, so we don't get to make our schedules a lot of the times. Anyways, thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!
Bye.